So this is the 2021 XT6.
Right. Yes, this is also, you can tell with the black grille and the black badging and no chrome. This is also a sport model. And basically what Cadillac was kind of, when they came out with this in 2020, what they were basically figured they were missing out on was kind of like the mid-size three-row SUV market that was out there. They had just introduced in the year before in 19 the Cadillac XT4, which was their smaller SUV, and then they had the XT5, which was kind of that mid-size, but again, just two rows. So they were kind of missing out on that, three-row segment, because really the only thing that they had with three rows, you had to go to an Escalade. So for the people not wanting to drop, $80,000-$90,000 on an Escalade, but one of the third rows, they kind of came out with this vehicle. So really nice vehicle. One of the big things with this is it's really neat when you sit inside of it. There's not a bad seat in there. Everywhere you sit, you can see out the front window, which isn't typical on a lot of three-row SUVs. And what Cadillac did with this was it's almost has like a stadium seating effect. So your second row seat sits up a little bit higher than the first row, and the third row seating sits up higher than that. So everybody is able to look out, like you do in a stadium. So everybody's looking out that front window. You don't have to worry, about only looking out the sides. So,
or leaning in or.
Right. So with this vehicle, you can either get it in a 6 or 7 passenger. The 6 passenger obviously is the most popular one that we sell. So it's going to give you those captain seats there in the second row. One of the other neat things about this is for the second and third row passengers, if you look on the back of that console there's your controls for your climate control. So this has a tri-climate zone, which you can adjust temperature for driver, passenger, and rear passengers. So you can see the buttons there. So when the vehicle's on, you can adjust your temperature, your fan speed, where you have the air coming out. You have vents up along the ceiling there, and one's down on the floor. But typically with three-row vehicles, what you tend to have is, by the time, maybe it's summertime and by the time that cold air gets to those people in the third row, sometimes it's a little warmer. So if you've ever been stuck in the third row of any of these vehicles during the summer, it sometimes tends to get a little warm. So what this vehicle does is it has its own AC compressor for the rear passengers. So you're always everywhere in the vehicle is going to be cool. So it kind of splits. You have the one in the front, mainly gets those people in the front. You have your driver and your passenger up front. The one in the back gets the ones, in the third row, and then they kind of split the duty between the passengers in the second row there. So it's kind of nice, again, neat little feature along with that stadium seating. And it just, you open up the hatch on this again, hands-free lift gate as long as you have the key with you. Otherwise, it's power. So you can, just walk up, you touch the little pad up underneath it. You're going to have the, that hands-free lift gate there.
I can see how this was kind of like meeting in the middle with the Escalade. I can see how it's kind of like just a smaller version.
Right. Underneath of that pad right there, you're going to see in the back, that actually opens up. So if you lift that pad up, and so there's a nice little storage compartment under here, and it's a lot deeper than you would think it is. So it's kind of goes down in there, gets stuff out of the way. Real easy access to your spare tire that's under there also. And then this third row here, you have power folding seats. So there's buttons there on the right-hand side, the two in the back. They're going to fold those seats up and down. And then you also have really buttons there to fold down the second row. So if you're putting something in there and you need a little bit more room, rather than have to put down whatever you have with you and walk around to the side, you can just hit those buttons and those will fold the seats down. You just have to make sure
to get the headrest.
they're not hitting the seats in front of you, but they'll fold down. That second row seats, they slide.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you just, again, make sure there's enough room clearance there. You know, so it's a nice vehicle. And again, alternative for, you know, a third row vehicle in the Cadillac family.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, you're not spending all of the money on the Escalade.
That opens up into so much space.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, you know, a lot bigger vehicle than I think people give it credit for.
Mm-hmm.
They look at it and, you know, some people try to write it off and, you know, no, it's not going to work. You know, but it all depends. You know, they very rarely do families anymore have, you know, more than 4 people in a car at a time. You know, so occasionally they'll use a third row seat. So most of the time we have so many people just drive around with that third row down anyway. So, you know, the first row, the second row, and the third row being folded down, it does give you, you know, room back there with, you know, that option of using that third row if you do need it.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful vehicle. I really like that one as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Ride's really great. You know, smooth ride, quiet, comfortable. Again, you know, you can get these pretty well equipped, you know, for reasonable price.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is the Sport, so you can see like around the windows. There's no chrome. You know, you just have the black trim. Sport wheels. The tail lights on the Sports are going to be clear. So it's what Cadillac calls neutral density tail lights. So you can see it's like a clear lens, almost looks smoked, you know, with the lighting, the LED lighting underneath of that. So kind of neat little features too. If you kind of look on the top half of that tail light, you can see there's a little Cadillac emblem kind of hidden in there. You do have the LED backup lights, and so
they really add just little touches that take it a level up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah. You know, you have the LED headlights. Windshield wiper there in the rear is tucked up underneath of there. So it gives it a nice clean look in the back. You don't have to worry about that wiper just kind of hanging out there.
Yeah.
So they tuck it up underneath of there, which makes it really, you know, nice, sporty, clean looking.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very sporty and sleek.
Yes.
Was there anything else that you wanted to say about the XT6, or did you want to move on?
Kind of zoomed in there a little bit on that 400 on the back. So I did want to kind of touch a little bit on that because that kind of goes into Cadillac's future, where they're heading here, you know, moving forward with the rest of their new vehicles that they're going to have coming out. So we've had a lot of people over the last 2 years or so come in, and Cadillac started putting that number there on the back right side of the vehicles, and a lot of people were asking what that was. And Cadillac, moving forward, any of their brand new vehicles coming out going forward are going to be 100% fully electric. So what they're doing is they're jumping ahead of the game, trying to get ahead of this. And you can see it on the back of the XT6 there. You can also see it on the back of the Escalade. What that is when they go to the electric motors are rated a little bit differently than a you know, gasoline engine. They're not rated by horsepower. They're rated more by torque. So those numbers on the back of the Cadillac are actually the Newton torque measurements for the electric vehicles. So down the road, if they have an XT6 electric vehicle, instead of people saying, well, how many horsepower does that vehicle have? It's not going to have horsepower. It'll be the 400 foot-pound of torque for the Newton meters. So, you know, just something, again, you know, Cadillac's moving forward. They do have their first fully electric vehicle that they're pushing forward here. It's going to be coming out end of next year. It's the Cadillac Lyric, and that's their first vehicle going forward in their new direction. So they just came out with 2 new cars that replaced a couple of their outgoing models, and those are actually the last 2 full gasoline engine vehicles that, you know, Cadillac is going to have before this new transition.
So next year at this time, we'll be seeing those vehicles.
Possibly, yeah. We're hopefully, we're hearing right now on this Lyric, it's late. It should be coming out late 2022.
Oh, okay.
So,
Sweet.
Start to move forward a little bit more. We'll start hearing a little bit more, coming up on those vehicles. But so far, what we have heard and what we've seen, looks to be a really, really nice vehicle. Kind of waiting for it, to come out. It's one of those things where it took a little getting used to, like, okay, this is a new direction, but after seeing the vehicle, it's like, okay, that kind of looks neat, see where this takes us and kind of go from there. So a little anxious to see, how this plays out for Cadillac.